Story 1. My dream is to not have a job. However, I am satisfied with my current position because I can work from home. I sacrificed a pay cut. Story 2. I found it because I knew I liked research but have anxiety about public speaking. I do not think I have sacrificed very much. I am living my best life in terms of having work-life balance. Story 3. I was fortunate to be informed by a friend about an entry-level opening in a field I did not know existed within the industry I was passionate about. I applied, was hired, and 11 years later I have built a successful career. Story 4. I am not sure if I would call it my dream, because my dream is to be independently wealthy and have an animal sanctuary. However, I do love what I do, pays 6 figures, and I get to work from home full-time. I came from the hospitality industry and was seeking something more stable, with regular hours, not being client or customer facing all the time, and less exhausting workdays. I took the skills from my time in hospitality and applied them to my new job as an executive assistant, and I am much happier. Story 5. Not sure if I would call it a dream job, but I am enjoying my career as it is now. I like my salary and my yearly bonus. It enables me to live in Manhattan and save or invest a decent amount every month. My reports are amazing. They are all on board to be on the cutting edge of artificial intelligence tools as they come down the pipeline for our functions. The nature of the work interests me and challenges me. Operations, heavy in data analytics, borderline data science. I convinced my boss to give me an artificial intelligence budget. I work about 50 hours per week. I have been in jobs where I worked up to 90 to 100 hours a week, and 60 or more was normal at other companies. I have a side hustle where I do consulting work for a handful of companies where I used to work. My skill in data analysis got my chief executive officers hooked, and my replacements cannot do it. So I do projects for them, work about 10 hours per week, bill them for about 20 hours per week at a very generous rate, and everyone is happy. I grew up poor in generational poverty. I put myself through college later in life while working 1 full-time job and 1 part-time job. 12 years later, I had 2 Bachelor of Science degrees and 1 Master of Business Administration degree. I have continued adding marketable skills ever since: systems, data science, and now artificial intelligence. The bad parts about my job: a few of my peers are actually lacking competence. My chief executive officer is weak, and while nice, he can drive me crazy. Objectively speaking, the job is very stressful. Story 6. I found it twice. What did I have to sacrifice? Not becoming wealthy enough to afford a large house and a trophy spouse. When I was a young man in the 1970s, I discovered that the people I listened to on the radio actually did that for a living. I thought it would be really cool to play records all day and talk about music, but when I found out it was a career, my mind was blown. Wait, so that's a job? I went to college in the 1980s, majored in broadcasting, and worked at the college radio stations. It took a while to get the career off the ground, but I ended up spending over 30 years listening to records and making noises into a microphone. The money was not always great, but the experience was exceptional. After my job was cut due to corporate consolidation, I wasn't sure what to do. Then, compressing the timeline a lot, I ran into a man who was a vehicle tester for Waymo. I said, "So, you just sit there in the car and it drives you around? Wait, so that's a job." I did not end up working for Waymo, but I have been in the autonomous vehicle space for the last 4 years, and I still cannot believe I am getting paid to do this. Story 7. I got really lucky and applied on a whim to a company that I thought seemed cool back when I was 20. They hired me. That was 17 years ago. I'm in sales. I've worked in 3 different locations across 2 states and then last year transitioned to a fully remote role. Despite being a bubbly salesperson, I'm the biggest introvert you'll ever meet. Now I finally have my dream job where I work from home with my pets by my side, making fantastic money, doing a job I've become a literal expert at. I tell my boss all the time, I'm never leaving. You have me until I retire. So, I sacrificed 16 years of working face-to-face, being emotionally exhausted from interacting with people all day, dressed to the nines in a suit with full hair and makeup. Now I'm at home working in my pajamas with a cat on my lap. It was all worth it. Story 8. I got my dream job at Microsoft, but it turned out to be very difficult. My salvation was being diagnosed with terminal cancer, and now I am on terminal leave. Story 9. I got really lucky. I would say the job I have is probably in the top 3 or top 5 of trim jobs for me. Thankfully, I did not have to sacrifice anything for it. Story 10. I applied for a position I was 80% qualified to do. I interviewed and was offered the job 3 days after accepting another that was not a good fit but paid okay. Dream job, free healthcare, 100% immediately vested in the 401k plan, immediate paid time off, $5 per hour more than I would have requested, and frequent company paid lunches. Holidays off include Thanksgiving and Black Friday, Christmas and Christmas Eve, New Year's Day and New Year's Eve. At the 90-day review, I received a 3% raise and was told to clock in for the extra half hour I spent each day setting up my schedule of tasks. Basically, it was a $30,000 raise compared to my prior job. Story 11. I recommend the book Work Won't Love You Back by Sarah Jaffe. It does a great job putting into perspective the whole do what you love concept. Story 12. I have a great job working on internal tools for software. It is like being an engineer's engineer. I spend time coding new tools and less time working on customer issues. Technologies range from cloud deployments to artificial intelligence to integrated development environment plugins to Terraform and Kubernetes. I am learning new technology and get paid handsomely to do it. In terms of sacrifices, I had an unusual thought, but the recruiting team said there was no need. We already have vice president approval, we have standard boilerplate for the offer, and they dismissed the idea. I keep my Reddit account active for easy access to the community just in case. Story 13. I sacrificed about a decade of social time and retirement savings to work 60+ hours a week with minimal social time or energy, and no means for a house or investments. When I reached the level I wanted, I specifically chose a job that sacrificed money for time. I generally make just enough money to get by, but the amount of time I have is unparalleled in my experience. I am catching up on the time I lost. I now enjoy going to work, have recovered from burnout, and have an incredible job with a boss who treats me well. Loyalty from employees is bred from loyalty and kindness from the boss. I would do almost anything for that man and go out of my way to ensure his business comes first while I work on my own on the side. For example, I make sure my work and customer base do not take away from his in any way. I clear things with him in advance. All this talk about employees not being loyal needs to start with the company's loyalty to the employee. Story 14. Found and doing my dream job, which is being a game developer. I had to sacrifice my savings, career trajectory, all of my free time, and some of my relationships. Steep costs. The odds that I make minimum wage doing this are maybe 75 to 1. But at least I will have made a great game I love. I would rather have made those sacrifices than stayed with my last boring and unchallenging job, wondering if I could have made a great game. I am looking for a full-time job again, as I have spent much of my savings. But at least I now know how to make games, which I am passionate about. My life is too short not to follow my passions. But yes, being impoverished while working harder than I ever have in my life is a depressing combination. Story 15. I fell into it. I had gone to school for a completely different field and unfortunately kept getting fired, so I needed a job and applied everywhere, even for places I didn't think I was qualified for. One of those places got back to me, and I started casual, working whatever they would give me. 10 years later, I have a full-time career with a union and benefits. I am quite knowledgeable in the field and have had the opportunity to mentor new employees. It has been a ride, and I am grateful for it. Story 16. Consistency, hard work, and dedication are essential. The most important part is to never give up. You also have to be a little unrealistic to achieve your dreams. When you are creating something nobody else has, you must believe in your imagination and trust it. Story 17. It really depends on what your dream job is if you are asking for specifics. A general rule of thumb, based on my experience, is to separate yourself from other applicants and stand out. Figure out what they might be looking for and how you could provide value and be a perfect fit. It is not enough to think you deserve a job because you really want it. The time to show you want it is during the interview. I committed to doing this and looking for my dream job, and it took about a year for me to get it. What did I sacrifice? Well, money for starters. I took a salary cut compared to my previous job to start, and I had to relocate for the dream job. I had to leave family and friends. Plus, I had to cover the cost of living since I was living at home and had to move. But I was young and in a position in my life to take that chance. No spouse, children, or other major commitments, and try out a new city. Eventually, I got comfortable in my new surroundings and have been making more money than ever. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Because if it is truly what you want to do, then those are the sacrifices you are willing to make. Story 18. Got it through a friend. I sacrificed my life outside work because it is more than 60 hours per week, but I love what I do. Story 19. I had my dream job. It took 23 years of education, which is now devalued due to the reduction of social science in the United States. Now I am just sitting and waiting to be fired or downgraded. Story 20. I am a city planner. I loved drawing maps and roadway networks as a kid, so in hindsight, it makes sense. However, I started college in a different major before switching to city planning after taking an introductory course on the topic. I earned both my undergraduate and master's degrees in city planning. Now I work in local government as a planner in management, reviewing developments of all sizes, from a drive-through coffee shop or strip mall to hospitals and subdivisions with over 300 homes. It is very satisfying for me. I am passionate about nature and plants, so I have used my job as an opportunity to encourage and influence developers to use native plants for their required landscaping and street trees. The only thing I have really given up is being free of student loan debt, which is largely my own responsibility. Thankfully, the United States currently offers public service loan forgiveness. Story 21. After being unemployed for 5 months and sending a large number of applications, their recruiter reached out to me. I am a software developer working as a contractor for a government entity, building our country's next generation of system for applying for higher education, such as university. It is super interesting with a sensible and technically literate customer, great project management, and good work-life balance. The commute is 1 hour each way, but work from home is mandated on Wednesday and Friday, as well as every second Thursday, so it is manageable. Story 22. My dream job was a mission worker in Sierra Leone. I found it by searching for orphanages in Sierra Leone and going from there, though I ended up building a school instead since foreigners cannot build orphanages there. The biggest sacrifice I have made is giving up travel. I want very much to see the world, but I cannot tell my children I love them and spend thousands of dollars on vacations instead of feeding them more than twice a week. They do eat at home. It is just that most people there get 1 meal a day. My weekly lunches are a greatly appreciated supplement. It is sad, but I am glad to make this sacrifice for God and prove my love rather than just saying it. Also, I have started varying my layovers on flights back to America, so I will get to see a little of Europe at least. I got to spend 12 hours in Istanbul last time. Story 23. I lucked out. I did an internship through college and got hired after it. Fast forward to this month, and I just celebrated 15 years with them. We work on really fun projects, collaborate with great colleagues, have a fantastic company culture, and a boss and owner who appreciates and fairly compensates me. I consider them a personal friend. The company provides free in-office lunches, frequently pays for lunch outside the office, and caters special events. I do what I went to college for, a mix of software development, project management, and general information technology. The only sacrifice is a few long weeks of about 60 hours, but only 2 to 3 times a year at most. Considering the pay I receive compared to people with similar experience and skills, I am happy to give that. If I take a few hours here or there or work from home, nobody notices. I am incredibly fortunate. Story 24. I applied, was interviewed, and was hired. I had to give up my community college adjunct position, though. Story 25. To be honest, I do not really care about my job, just that it makes enough money to fund my lifestyle and hobbies comfortably. However, I sacrificed by working hard through school and internships all those years. I had almost a 4.0 grade point average, was top of my class, and went into software. I am now a manager, a position I found through a friend at a company I liked who recommended me. Story 26. I created it myself. I absolutely love what I do, and it is truly a dream come true that took many years to achieve. However, it meant giving up all the comforts of home, living far away from family and friends, and dealing with the endless bureaucracy of moving to and living in a different city, country, or continent. I am simultaneously living my best life and losing my mind. Story 27. I started my own businesses. Tutoring adults was my favorite dream job. I am working on a new dream right now. Story 28. I kind of fell into my field, which I had never heard of before because it sounded related to my degree. I worked my way up and am now at the director level. I do not feel like I sacrificed anything. I did have to change organizations multiple times to advance. Story 29. I know what my dream job is, but there is no way I am sacrificing my livelihood to be a musician. I can make a living and still do it as a hobby. Story 30. Answered a classified advertisement without knowing what it was actually for since the advertisement was pretty non-specific. I did not even know it was my dream job. Early on, I sacrificed time with my significant other because of overtime, but it has been stable with little or no overtime for about 15 years now. Story 31. I wouldn't really call it my dream job, but a compromise between not living off disability benefits and serving in the military, as I wanted to when I was younger. Getting here felt like I traded parts of my sanity, having worked many difficult jobs. This, in turn, cost me some of my social skills. The lockdowns didn't help either, which also cost me opportunities with many good people. Story 32. I do not know about a dream job, but I certainly enjoy my work and tasks, and I get to work from home most of the time. Story 33. I got so lucky. I have my own business. I had a conversation with a stranger and told him about it. He gave me a phone number. I still can't wrap my head around how my life has changed. I mainly work for elderly people on fixed incomes. They need help and can't afford it. I make sure they can afford me. I wouldn't call it a sacrifice. I'm very happy to do it. I work hard for them for little money. I've done it for a long time. My dream job allows me to afford to work for my elderly clients for almost nothing. I am still amazed and grateful for that man and those phone numbers. Story 34. Plumber with 25 years of experience turned railroad engineer in New York State. Completed 2 years of studies to obtain my license. Instead of playing with Lionel trains, I work with the real things every day. Story 35. For as long as I can remember, I wanted to be a firefighter. The kind of pull you cannot explain, like gravity. I remember being a kid, hearing sirens in the distance and thinking they were going into it, while everyone else was running away. I thought that was really cool, and it is who I want to be. But wanting something does not make it easy. I gave up a lot to get here. I walked away from comfort, missed birthdays, holidays, moments that do not come back. While my friends were building steady lives, I was training, sweating, breaking my body and mind to meet a standard that never gets easier, only higher. There were times I thought I was not good enough. Times I knew I was not. I had been overlooked, failed tests, watched others move up while I stayed stuck. But I did not stop. I could not. Story 36. I was commuting 40 minutes to an hour each way, 5 times a week. At one point, I was allowed to work from home on Mondays, but they quickly took that back and required us to be in the office full-time again. There was a similar position at another company closer to my house, but the general consensus was that they were not great to work for. I was fed up because my current job was not great either, so I applied. Turns out they had a management change, and the new leadership was much better. I am 5 minutes from the office, working a hybrid schedule with 2 work-from-home days per week. There is a gym on campus that is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it is free. I also received a 10% salary increase compared to my previous company. Story 37. My dream job is sitting around doing nothing and getting paid just for choosing clothes or shoes. But so far it has not come my way. Story 38. Software developer. I am paid well to work on a computer all day in air conditioning. I was misled by a recruiter to attend a private predatory school, DeVry University. I went to school year-round without summer breaks for 3 years. I worked third shift at night and attended school during the day. I graduated with a large amount of debt and spent 2 years trying to get hired. I finally got a lucky break at a company. Then I lived very frugally to pay off the debt as quickly as possible. I was able to relax and enjoy life by age 30. In the long run, I paid off my debt, but if I could be 17 again, I would pursue a trade, perhaps as an electrician or in heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. I feel like I did not get to enjoy my youth. Story 39. I just started my own kayaking outfitter in Florida. It is completely my dream job. I give bioluminescence tours on the most biologically diverse estuary in North America. I have always been ready to drop everything and relocate for love, and have had many long-distance relationships. When I decided to start my own outfitter, I realized that being able to take love anywhere was something I would be sacrificing. I have always been a traveler, so I feel I have tangible roots now, which I always expected from having a family instead. Tomorrow, I will speak at my first Board of Commissioners meeting to save some of the land around the ecosystem I tour on. Ecotourism is just as much about what you do off the water as on it. So I guess I am also sacrificing never seeing myself involved in political issues. I just want to make a living paddling in glowing water with dolphins and manatees, but if I want to do that, I have to keep it from getting paved over. Story 40. I became a Discord moderator. I had to sacrifice having a nice beard, and now I have a neck beard. Worthy sacrifice for the ladies. Story 41. When I was a kid, I thought or was told that I should be an aerospace engineer. If I had actually ended up there, I would have killed myself by now. None of that is actually interesting to me beyond a surface-level curiosity. Story 42. I am an art dealer who organizes some intelligence operations on the side. What did I have to sacrifice? Everything. Story 43. A friend of mine who works at the company handed my application to the manager of the department where I wanted to work, and I was hired. The only sacrifice is that in my old job, I traveled 45 minutes to work, and now I travel 60 minutes. So it is not really a big sacrifice for me. Story 44. A friend gave me a reference. The interview was, "Your friend says you can do this stuff, is that true?" Then I was hired. Story 45. For me, a dream job is working at something you do not mind doing, as little as possible. A few years ago, I had an incredibly stressful job, which in part led to what I can only describe as a mental breakdown. I had a toxic boss, was in constant meetings, and could feel a round of redundancies coming, which I knew I would have to manage, having gone through something similar in the past. So I left it all to go freelance. I am much poorer now, and we have to make a few financial sacrifices, but it was the best decision I ever made. To quote Cicero, "Wages are the bonds of slavery." But then it was easy for him to say that. Story 46. Got a chance to do an internship and absorb knowledge after 1 year. Great pay, but need to sacrifice my time at night. Some of my work had to be carried over to home. Story 47. Found it by following what excited me, not just what paid well. Sacrificed stability and free time, but it was worth it. Story 48. In my experience, people who say they are at their dream job generally have a positive outlook on life. Otherwise, you would meet just as many unhappy, cynical people at their dream jobs. Story 49. It was amazing, and I truly enjoyed serving my country until I was laid off in the recent government workforce reductions. Story 50. I think I found my dream job as an animal control officer. I fell into it by accident while looking for animal-related jobs. I applied for the experience, got hired, and I am really enjoying it. I get to be out in the community helping people, hands-on with many different kinds of animals. I work by myself all day, for days at 10 hours each with 3 days off. Great pay. The sacrifice was years of difficult jobs. I did not go to college for animal-related work, so I started at the bottom, taking any animal-related job I could find with terrible hours, pay, and supervisors. I was laid off from another dream job as a zookeeper and had to work for a year at a pet store due to a poor job market. It was the worst place I have ever worked. But all that time at difficult jobs gave me invaluable experience and an excellent skill set. Now I am here. I never thought I would end up in a job I was happy with. My work life was miserable for so long. No job is perfect. It is all still work, but some situations are better than others. Story 51. I recently rediscovered mine. When I was in my final semester of college, my old roommate helped me get an interview at his company, a voice over internet protocol hardware manufacturer. My salary doubled, I had great coworkers, and they even catered lunch every day. I loved everything about that job. Unfortunately, around this time, I was also going through a difficult divorce. I married my girlfriend before I was ready, and she turned out to be clinically psychopathic. They are very good at hiding it. I gained 90 pounds, became very depressed, and started experiencing a lot of self-doubt in the form of imposter syndrome. I quit that job, which was one of the hardest things I have ever had to do. I was bedridden for months, then went back to working hourly jobs where I was miserable. I felt like the biggest failure in the world. That was 7 years ago. I quit my job last April and spent the last 3.5 months frantically job hunting. As luck would have it, the State Lottery Commission needed someone with managerial and information technology experience to work the overnight shift. It is a union job with great benefits, and my salary once again doubled. I am happy to say I just signed a conditional offer and will start on the 28th. I have also slimmed down quite a bit and became a homeowner 2 years ago. Things are starting to look up. My advice is to convince yourself you are highly skilled and highly desirable in the job market, and fine-tune your LinkedIn profile and curriculum vitae to reflect this. You can message me if you need help with anything specific. I was planning on creating a LinkedIn post outlining all the methods and strategies I used. Story 52. I am a physician. I got lucky because I found it by meeting a girl who wanted to be a physician. I already liked science in high school, and the medical college admission test was a good excuse to spend time with her studying. I sacrificed a lot of time in my 20s. However, I do not really view it as a sacrifice because I never liked going to parties or socializing that much. I am fairly introverted. Medicine is not for everyone. You need to have a lot of discipline. I spent thousands of hours in libraries reading and turned down many invitations to spend time with friends because the volume of information is so vast that you always feel like you do not know enough. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.